you know, it's interesting because I wanted to understand what was holding women back. Why are there so few women directors? Why are there so few women on boards?
This show, America Inside Out, you also look at the Me Too movement in one of the episodes.
I call it the revolt. And it's really just about women rising up and is it going to change? And I focused on Hollywood and Silicon Valley. And I went to the set of The Handmaid's Tale to talk to Elizabeth Moss, which is, you know, really heavily directed by women and mostly women on the set. And talked to her about how she became the executive producer and why that was so important. And how that has had such cultural relevance because of the current political situation and fears about going backwards when it comes to women's rights. And interviewed Viola Davis about intersectionality, which is sort of a new word for me, that my daughter introduced to me a couple of years ago, and talked about the particular challenges of being an African-American actress or an African-American in Hollywood, and what they're trying to do with UV Productions.
I think I could speak for most black women here in Hollywood. We're trying to get paid what white women get paid. We're even trying to get the same kind of roles that they get.
You said it after, you know, last year when the conduct of Matt Lauer came to light. And you said so many people who engage in that kind of behavior are really good at keeping it hidden from the people who don't need to know about it, or it would hurt them if they knew about it. Is that one of the big problems with sexual harassment in the workplace?
I think one of the big problems, just from my experience, and I can only talk about sort of where I've worked, is I don't think until recently it was taken that seriously. So, you know, where I worked, I can't tell you how many married men were having pretty, I don't know, open, but talked about and whispered about affairs with underlings. Like, there should be a zero tolerance of that in media organizations. And I think that sets a tone that anything kind of goes. And so I think very strict guidelines and very specific protocols, transparency, accountability, and an awareness that you know, that you have preconceived values and notions that need to be challenged by yourself. I think all those things are critically important. And I think just what was put up with for a long time is now being reconsidered. Now, has the pendulum swung too far in some instances? Maybe. And, you know, is that sort of part of a social movement's natural ebb and flow? Perhaps. But I think there is this very important awakening. And now I think it's really critical that organizations and men and women talk about this in an open way that is not full of harsh judgment and criticism, but of real learning and education and a place of wanting to make things better.
Have you spoken to Matt?
I haven't, and you know, I've talked about it so much, Jess. I feel like out of respect to Matt and also the women who came forward, I don't want to exploit anybody's situation at this point. You know, I feel like I've said everything I'm going to say about it. I've talked, You've spoken to people about it. Really,
yes.
It just, you know, the first people I spoke to. And, you know, just out of respect of Matt healing and the women healing and NBC as an organization coming to terms with the kind of culture that was created there, the environment that existed, I'd rather not discuss it anymore, if that's okay.